Hello, Steve RC9. Well, I finally saw the 1996 TV movie slash failed pilot revival Doctor Who. I'd heard about this because I remember when it came out back in the day, and I was like, oh, Doctor Who was cancelled? I didn't realise Doctor Who worked the way it did. I thought Tom Baker was Doctor Who and he was just on TV. I didn't realise I was watching repeats when I was younger and that it had ended. I thought it was still going. So when I saw it ended, I was sort of like, oh, I'm glad it's back already. It was back before I knew it was gone. Um, but yeah, I've never heard anything good about it, and I wasn't sure like why this movie didn't get picked up as a TV series. My understanding was it was a pilot for a potential revival of Doctor Who. It was cancelled in '89. This was '96, although it's set in '99, oddly enough. But yeah, I can kind of see maybe why the fans didn't get excited about it and why it wasn't picked up. But that may have been just a pilot issue because had they been picked up as a series, I'm sure the individual stories and individual episodes would have been very different. But this sort of setup movie, this origin sort of story, where we sort of introduce people to Doctor Who in America, which is what I thought they were sort of trying to do, wasn't that bad. But it also wasn't like a Doctor Who story. It wasn't really a science fiction story. It was just basically the Doctor versus the Master in your typical sort of goodies versus baddies American sort of story where you have to have a villain and, you know. But I'm sure they wouldn't have, that wouldn't have been the sort of story that you would have gotten every week had they done a series. So I think people may have been a bit harsh with this. But at the same time, basically Doctor Who, we see Sylvester McCoy playing Doctor Who, which is good because I had watched all the other Doctors in at least one or two adventures except Sylvester McCoy. I thought I had one of his and I didn't. So at least I've seen him now playing the Doctor, even though he's playing it, 6 years after it finished. I think he was the last Doctor, I think. Yeah, I think so. This is new to me. I'm just sort of getting up to date with Doctor Who. So yeah, Sylvester McCoy. Oh no. What? 87. Oh, okay. It says 87 to 96. For a second I thought it was 86. I'm like, well, who was 87 to 89? They just have jumped from there to the pilot because he played that character. So even though it was off for a few years, they still counted that. So yep. But basically we just see him going back to Gallifrey to take the Master's remains back to his home planet. He of course manages to come back to life and escape, and Doctor Who lands the TARDIS and ends up getting shot by gangbangers and going to a hospital, and they try to operate on his hearts, but they don't know what they're doing because they think it's a double exposure X-ray, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense that they're operating in the way they are. But they nearly kill him. Well, they do kill him, but then he comes back. He manages to regenerate, and he comes back as Paul McCann, who sadly is sort of the Doctor who had the least doctoring, because Peter Cushing played Doctor Who in some movies back in the 60s, and he's not counted as a Doctor because it's a different universe, different continuity apparently. And I'm like, oh, okay. Didn't know they had a separate Doctor. I just assumed whatever Doctor was on the TV series at the time made the movies. Like when the Munsters made a movie during their show, it was the same cast who moved over. Actually, that's not true. Marilyn was played by a different actress. And also, I was going to say Batman did the same thing, but Catwoman was played by a different actress in the movie as well. But that's a, ensemble cast. This is the Doctor, so to not have the Doctor played by the same character was a bit weird. But yeah, so basically he spends most of the film, or at least half the film, trying to remember who he is, and then trying to make this Doctor that he's interested in, she's interested in him, there's sort of romance and a kiss and everything. He's trying to convince her that he's a Doctor, he's an alien, he's the Doctor and he's an alien, and the Earth is in danger and who the Master is and all that. And it takes until about an hour or so into the film before it's just him facing off against the Master, and he knows who he is and what he's doing. So I can kind of see how it didn't appeal to fans because it was Americanized and it was a very generic sort of TV drama story and very goodies versus baddies. It wasn't like a science fiction story. It wasn't told in chapters like the other Doctor Who. So I kind of get how maybe the Whovians didn't really embrace this and why it didn't get picked up. And it's curious to think what would have happened if it had been picked up. Like, would we have gotten the same revival we did later? Would it have just had a couple of movies and then disappeared and then came back again? Or would it have gone on for a little while but not been very good and then sort of lost interest, and then we wouldn't have gotten the revival. It's kind of interesting to think, what could have been. But I don't think it's as bad as what people think. I think it would have been a decent series had it gone to series. They're judging, an imaginary series based on like a TV movie / pilot. It seems a bit harsh, but glad I got to see Sylvester McCoy, because I don't have any adventures of his, and I'm about to go into the new Who's, and I wanted to at least watch some of, or at least one adventure with the original Doctors first, and I managed to get him in this. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Maybe even ding the bell or look at my channel to actually see for new videos, since YouTube won't be, sending them to you or showing them to you or promoting them at all, because they just don't do that anymore. Let me know what you think either way of this version, this Doctor Who, and why it didn't become a series, and maybe what would have happened if it did.